Hi, Luna Lotus. I am so happy to be presenting the first Yellow Brick Chicks um, webinar, free webinar. This, I hope, will be the first of many. The title of this webinar is called Balancing Motherhood and Artistry. And I'm just super excited about stepping into new things and stepping away from fear and yeah, it's exciting. So let's get started. Um, like I said, my name is Luna Lotus Love, and let me start out by giving you a 30 to 60-second pitch. Um, I am a singer-songwriter using my artistry as a platform um, to create platforms of empowerment, education, and exchange. Let me give that again, because yes, I am nervous. I will have to compare this process in a way, sort of, to you just did a lesson plan. I'm a teacher, and so you kind of have to work out the kinks of the content that you're presenting and the activities that are involved. So let me do that one more time. My name is Luna Lotus Love. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I'm using my artistry to create platforms of empowerment, education, and exchange. Bam. So the reason why I thought that it was important to start with my pitch is because it is very clear as an artist, as a woman, as a person, to be clear with yourself, to be clear with the world, so that when you set your intentions and you move forward, that clarity moves forward with you. If you are unclear about who you are, about the who, I like to say, if you're not clear about the who, what, why, and how of you, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to navigate forward and move forward with your goals. So again, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I create platforms of I use my artistry to create platforms of empowerment, exchange, and education. So this is one of the platforms that I am being a busy bee in trying to create. Having community is extremely important to me. Also, collaborating is very important to me. So this is more so about the act of building community than it is about Luna and her initiatives or the things that she got going for herself. It's about that as well, and me wanting to move forward as an entrepreneur, and me wanting to really position myself in a different way as I move forward on my path. But in addition to that, this is for women and mothers and just sisters who are like myself, who need motivation, who need resources, who need a network, who are walking a similar path. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a musical family. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My family ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia. So I say I'm from Atlanta because that's where I was raised. And that's where I came into myself. I started to perform. I started to learn about my culture. I just started to really come into myself there, and it was such a beautiful place to be in the 90s. Even though natural hair, that whole thing wasn't popular then, but thankfully I have a twin sister, and we went through a lot of our transitions together. So decided to study music when I went to college. I studied music at Florida A&M University, and just always knew that music was going to be a part of my home. My grandmother was very instrumental in that. Yeah, she was very instrumental in establishing that as a foundation for my sister and I. There were instruments in the house. So music was just a part of my life very, very early on, singing in the church, that whole thing. So ended up going to Florida A&M, started networking, ended up meeting a really awesome group of musicians who we decided to form a band that introduced me to another level of gigging. Me and my sister were doing like festivals and like community events and open mic nights and that sort of thing in Atlanta, but we were still in high school. So, that was a good place for us to start. But when we got to the college, we took um, the whole concept of gigging to another level. So, started meeting really great people, experiencing new things. It was great. So I ended up meeting this guy. We had a really short courtship, and bam, baby number one comes. My whole everything is completely rocked turned upside down, because that was not in my path as an aspiring singer. I wanted to perform, and that was just what I saw for myself. And the only reason why in school I was taking like classes for music education and getting that educational component added onto my degree was because that's what your advisors tell you to do. So bam. But anyway, got pregnant and decided to keep the baby, and moved forward with my life. But realistically, I had not made the transition in my mind, in my mental space, about being a mother and what that was going to take for me. um, the changes that I needed to make within myself to embrace that completely. When you're 21 years old and you're in school, you're away from home, you don't have a physical community of family or loved ones around you, and you got your mindset on what your goals are going to be, and you're fresh out the house in the world. Having a baby at 21 just was not in my path. Just wasn't in my mind. But baby came, and we making it. So at that time, I wasn't married, and my sister and I were still very dedicated toward wanting to, pursue a career in the entertainment industry as a singer-songwriter professional. And so, being from Atlanta, we were in this college town. We decided to move back to Atlanta on the guise of having a management arrangement with what was a family friend at that time. So my baby was about maybe 1.5, almost 2. So, worked it out with dad and ended up going to Atlanta. I swear it had to be maybe a year, maybe even less than that. And it was ridiculous. It was crazy. Like, I'm not even going to go into how dysfunctional of a situation that was, but just bad timing on top of mismanagement, on top of just everything that you could imagine. Just wasn't a good time. So my son's father at the time came, and he proposed, and I ended up going back, and I graduated. I finished school. It just seemed like the right thing to do. Got a baby, go ahead and be with the dude, go ahead and get the degree. It's about completion. So I did that. And baby number 2 came, and somewhere in the midst of that, I was still trying to find a way to incorporate music into my life. The band that I had started with, a lot of the members that were in that group started to their paths started to take them to tour on major tours with professional musicians, George Clinton, Maxwell, just all of these people. So here I am trying to figure out like what to do with my life. And I'm looking at my peers, and that is just a terrible thing to do when you're the only person in the group who has a different situation, but you're constantly looking at the people who are around you as some sort of example. That's wrong thing to do, number one. The other thing that I was doing was not honoring the space that I was in, because I was listening to others. And although these people thought that they had my best interest at heart, they had the best intentions about, leading me and guiding me and encouraging me to do certain things on my path that was befitting of an artist, they were still not incorporating what it was to be an artist and a mother. And so, I was zooming, running, chasing my tail, chasing this dream, chasing this idea of this thing that I thought that I wanted, but still not incorporating my motherhood onto my path. And so the mental and spiritual imbalances that happened as a result of that, I experienced, extreme bouts of depression, extreme bouts of, just the whole separation anxiety. I told you about the time when my first son was 1.5, and I went back to Atlanta, and then I said I moved back to Tallahassee, which is where my family, my growing, developing family was living at the time. That's where Florida A&M is. And so, when all of that stuff happened, and by the time the third baby came, I was just like, God damn, like, I got to make this happen. So I was teaching full time at elementary school in Tallahassee. And when my contract wasn't renewed after that second year, I was like, okay, this is the doorway for me to make it back to Atlanta and really honestly put my best foot forward. And it just seemed like the best thing to do. It seemed like more doors were opening. We had more solid connections. We had even some family investment to help us to make the move, and it was a major thing. So again, left my children there with the father, and that was difficult. It was still difficult because what I did not take into account for all of the time that I was there was, okay, well, if I get to where I think I want to be, then what is still going to happen with my children? I still, for whatever the reason, was just totally still thinking about this idea, this idea of a thing, and not including all aspects of myself, and not realizing how that was tearing me apart, and how that tearing me apart was keeping me from accomplishing the things that I was, wanting to accomplish, so let me veer into the importance that I have put on my mirror magic meditations. What is mirror magic, you may say? Mirror magic is so many things, but for me, it is incorporating severe practices and rituals of self-love, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-awareness, taking time with yourself, being quiet, being still, just really, really diving into the practice of self-reflection and knowing what is for you. What is for you doesn't look like what is for somebody else, and that's something that I had to learn the hard way. Again, I must say, listening and looking at my peers who were around me, who were really dope musicians. They validated me in my artistry, but they didn't have babies, so they couldn't really tell me how to navigate through, because they were, single and just didn't have the type of responsibilities that I had. So mirror magic for me is understanding that nothing or no one is more powerful than my own mind, my own self, my own voice, my own intuition. And that means going away. That may mean taking a hibernation. That may mean taking a break, and that being a form of mirror magic as well, just in terms of knowing how and when to create that special sacred space for yourself. So that's something that I just wanted to talk about as it relates to personal power. And now my thing over here is messing up. As it relates to personal power, and that being an extremely personal journey. And when you don't believe in yourself, it will, like I said, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, what anybody else is saying. You have to take the time to really develop your own formula, just the things that you need to do for yourself to succeed. And sometimes that means just blocking everybody out. Let me see. I'm following my little script over here. The other thing about mirror magic is like I was saying, I have really awesome artist friends who were really great, and they validated they validated me and my talent in a way. But the thing that I did not have enough of were reflections around me who were in a similar situation as myself. So mirror magic extends to your reflections and people being in you putting yourself in an environment of or a community, if you will, of people who support you, who look like you, who are doing similar things, who can relate to what you're doing. Let me just interject and just give this really, really major lesson that I've had to learn at different points on my path. But the same lesson keeps coming to me for some reason, I guess, until I master it. But do not listen to really anybody who, and I may have said this before, but it's so important and it has happened to me so many times. I feel the need to say it again, but do not listen to anybody who may have the best and most honorable of intentions of encouraging you, and they life coaching everybody into wealth and wellness and all of that kind of stuff. But if their path and their work does not look like where you are and what you want and where you're going, and that person can't do for you what you think that they're going to do, and if anything, they're going to divert you away from what it is that you're really supposed to be focused on. And I just have to say that for myself, just like spiritually, I was under the guidance of a few spiritual mentors, me putting my everything into what they're saying and not listening to myself. Like, somebody could tell you want something, but you still have to be able to know more than anything that person is. I don't care how many degrees, how many initiations they have, X, Y, and Z. Like, there's nothing that is more valuable than your own intuition and what is best for you coming from your own mind. So that's another process that only comes from you going in the process of self-reflection and just being able to listen to your own intuition. So let me move forward and talk about the tips that I have for actually balancing motherhood and artistry. It is something that I am learning every single day. It is something that is, practice makes perfect. So you have to just keep doing it, keep doing it, because it's hard, it really is difficult. Like, I should take these off. It really is difficult when you're trying to be an upstanding woman, when you're trying to be an entrepreneur, and when you have these major responsibilities like taking care of a family, and for me, let me just say too, I thought that, because everybody is like, well, what sacrifice are you willing to make? What sacrifices are you willing to make? The sacrifice that I thought that I was making to be away from my children for the sake of my career, yeah, that's a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? And it is a sacrifice that a lot of women make for long periods of time or short periods of time. That could be going on tour, or that could just be leaving, having the children live with a family member for the sake of the type of lifestyle that you have. I'm not knocking it. Everybody's path is differently, but I will speak from my experiences to say that in the long run, I suffered and my children suffered. I suffered and my children suffered deeply. When I say deeply, I mean, deeply, and I'll just leave it at that. But my children suffered deeply, and it's one of those things that I am constantly having to go to the water and just stay in the graces of humility and forgiveness with myself, being gentle with myself, because we live and we learn. But, my sacrifice was a sacrifice for them too. So, anyway, but just moving forward, just know that now on the other end, the sacrifice that I'm making is an even bigger sacrifice so far as I'm concerned, because when I left Atlanta and saw it back in the winter of 2013, and I moved back with where my children was, that move back was moving back in with my ex-husband, and our relationship was shit. Our relationship was not good. The terms of our divorce weren't really the best. We were still amicable in the best way that we possibly could be, but me leaving and just just how things worked out, it left things in shambles. So his foundation wasn't in order. He was struggling. My foundation wasn't in order, and I was struggling. And so we both had to make a very, very mature decision between the both of us in figure out how we were going to improve our families' lives, not just his life or my life, but how we were going to work together to move forward as a family for our children. Because the way that we were both living individually, and kind of even if we weren't necessarily fighting or at odds, when you're not together with that other unit, then ultimately it is you being at odds. So we decided to put our differences aside, and I moved back in. And so even though, I said it was for the sake of it being for us reestablishing stability and a foundation for ourselves individually and collectively, with the goal of us eventually moving out again with a firmer foundation. Of course, if you were married to someone and you have children with them, then the roots that you have with them and even the feelings that you have for them, you still trying to figure stuff out. Maybe not you, but I was. So when I moved in, it was just a roller coaster ride on many different levels, because I was navigating and just adjusting my mind with, okay, now I'm not in Atlanta anymore. Oh my God, am I still supposed to be doing music? Am I still supposed to be singing? I went from a city like Atlanta and all of the glitz and glam that comes with Atlanta, to moving back to a college town and not doing any performing, any singing. So the emotional roller coaster that I went through was severe. I picked up weight, all of these things. But just moving the story along, I'm just sharing this whole thing with you to say that the sacrifice that I made before in my life, to say, oh, I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to go, and let my children be here while I go here and do that. That's a type of sacrifice. But on the other end, now I'm really sacrificing myself and my comfort for the sake of my foundation, for the sake of my children, and doing what's best. And as a result of that, my life and my stability has improved so much more. And I'm in a much better position now to actually even think about recording or think about, getting my entrepreneurial ideas out of my head. You know what I'm saying? Because I took the time and did what I needed to do to go back to the thing that I was running from. And that may be something different for you, but I'm sharing these different stories with you in hopes that you can connect with them somehow, and then also that you can use the lessons that I've had to learn to help you along your path as a mother musician, as a woman creative, really trying to figure out a way, is this path still for me? Am I still going to do this? Oh my God, I have this many obstacles. I don't have support. I do have support. Whatever your situation is, I'm just letting you know that I've been through it. So, moving forward, now I'm teaching full time, and I am right now presently at the point of looking for a place to stay. So, on my own. Oh my God, like, ring the bells. I'm super nervous and excited and afraid, and it's so many different emotions that you could have, and I'm a grown woman having these emotions, but for the first time in my life, I'm more stable than I have been in a while. So I'm really thankful about that. The first tip that I want to share about what I'm learning about effectively balancing motherhood and creativity is pacing yourself and prioritizing. Um, I met a sister when I first moved here to Tampa, and we kind of were attracted to the fact that we were doing something that was similar in terms of the arts educational component of the things that I'm doing, and so this girl, she's an Ivy League student, super super smart, and I started to realize though that there were little that, like, I started to get uncomfortable. I was like, why does it feel like there's competition going on? It wasn't anything that was said. It was just the feeling. It was that thing. So at the end of it, I had to cut ties with this sister, this young girl, because I had to realize a couple things. For one, yes, sometimes people are intimidated by you, whether they say it or not. Their intentions, again, may be the best thing. Y'all want to work together, y'all want a partner, blah blah, whatever. But you got to just make sure that you connect yourself with the right people at the right time. And then the other thing, why I'm attaching this on to pacing and prioritizing, is because I even was having issues with, this sister was moving at one pace and I had to move at another pace. She didn't have my responsibilities. And then she had the nerve, and she wasn't even understanding that, and I had to cut ways, cut ties, and we go our separate ways. So I'm just saying that as tip number one: pace yourself under the conditions of your present situation. You cannot move at the pace of somebody else and what they're doing, because their life and their circumstances are not yours. So it's very important to pace yourself and also to prioritize the things that are most important to you. Deal with the things that are right now. Deal with the things that you don't want to face, that you're afraid of, or that you've been putting off. Like, I got tons of examples for each and every one of these, but I'm just gonna go down the list, and then we'll say our farewell. So that was tip number one: pace and prioritize. Tip number two: saying no means me saying yes. I'm gonna say that again. Saying no means saying yes. Sometimes you have to say no to somebody else in order for you to be able to do the things that you need to do, saying yes to yourself. So be okay and get comfortable with not being able to do everything for everybody. Women with or without children already carry a large weight and burden in terms of in terms of just being nurturers for our family, for our jobs, and just all the many different hats that we wear. But then on top of that, you add on being a mother. Sometimes we give and give and give and give and give and give and give, and we don't take the time to give to ourselves. So, before you say yes to someone, that you'll involve yourself with this one thing, make sure that it's in alignment with who you are, where you're going, and what you want to do. Tip number three is organize and delegate. Being a creative person sometimes is real. That's the most challenging thing in the world, to organize yourself. I'm gonna say that. I'm just saying for myself. You may not be an artist, but for me, sometimes just getting myself organized and doing a step one, step two, step three, and then breathing, and then a step four, step five, step six. It sometimes is difficult, but I'm working at it and I'm getting better. And delegating the responsibilities that you have within your family or your community, within your network, and this is another thing that very specifically ties into the motherhood and musicianship or artistry thing. Like, if your children are of a certain age and you feel like they're responsible enough to do certain things, then start to give them more responsibilities and be okay with that. Be totally okay with that. That's something that I'm learning to do as my children get older. So sometimes we got to learn how to just relax and chill and just teach through example too. So give the children responsibilities to make the load easier. There's no way around it. If you can do it and your children are old enough to do it, then do it. If your children are still really, really young, then definitely network. And I'm bringing up network specifically right now because I keep talking about the importance of building community and network. It's gonna be on social media, which I am. Sometimes it's extremely productive. Sometimes I get caught up, but if you're gonna be on there, be social, but be social in a productive way so that you're actually networking, you're actually socializing, and you're actually connecting with people that have the potential of being an asset to your life. So I'm really super excited because I've started to increase my social networking in a more strategic and intentional way. I've started to reach out to some folks, and this year was looking good with the possibility of some new collaborations and partnerships. So do not just be idle and use every moment of your time wisely, especially on a medium like social media. Um, Invest in yourself is tip number 6. Invest in yourself in all ways, physically, spiritually, professionally. Last year was a time that I really understood the value of self-investment. I really started to dive into conferences and courses and really investing into myself, professionally. So if you have not exposed yourself to networks and communities that are doing the same thing that you want to be doing, that can offer resources and tools to help you out, then I would do that, and that's one of the reasons why I started Yellow Brick Chicks. And let me just give a little plug. There will be no Yellow Brick Chicks if there was not an artist launch. I am extremely thankful for Karen Marie Mason and for the work that she is doing for the independent artist movement. I definitely would not be anywhere right now. I wouldn't be, what webinar, what? No, that wouldn't even have been on my mind. And the many things that I'm in the process of planning for myself this year have come through me working with her and the courses that she has offered. And if you are an artist, I completely advocate for you being a part of this group. It's called Artist Launch. You can find it it's a Facebook group. The other one that I'm building now, and really is really new, still trying to get not only membership up but engagement up, is Yellow Brick Chicks. I started this as a doorway to the blog that I'm starting this year and in the next couple of months. So Yellow Brick Chicks, where the mother musician shines. We're dealing with character development and really diving into what it is going to take to shift the mind to actually be abundant and be successful. And a lot of time that is internal work. A lot of time that is character development and mental, spiritual, internal work. So even though we dive into tips and tools that are resourceful for entrepreneurship and those sort of things, I really am diving into the lion, the courage, the tin man, the heart and the feelings, and the scarecrow, the mind, the intellect, the intelligence. So I really want you guys to join us if you haven't already. The next tip is face your fears. Testimony right now. Doing this webinar was one of them. Being able to talk about myself and just this whole I'm facing many fears right now. So do not be afraid to face anything, because it's just like I was talking with my sister friend, and she was like, "Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. This is hard. This is hard." And somebody, I don't know where I heard this before. Somebody was like, "No, the table is hard. A rock is hard. But situations that we go through, they may be challenging. But when we change our vocabulary, it changes our perspective to say, okay, well, challenges are meant to be overcome. Challenges are meant to be um, work through. So, yeah, face your fears, because if you don't, then you're never going to get past it, and you're never going to grow. You're never going to accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. You are your greatest enemy when it comes to that. The tip number 8 is understand who you are. That goes back into all the way back when we started with the pitch, with your 30-second pitch. Really being able to identify the who you are, what you're doing, and where you want to go. And being able to say it very concisely and very clearly for yourself, so that when you're presented with the opportunity to share it with others, there's no room, there's no gray area, there's no room for doubt. And when you do that, there's something about claiming that um it works magic. It changes the whole molecular vibe, that's working in and throughout and all around you, in terms of the universe hearing and seeing um how they need to work on your behalf. It starts with you being a clear image. Again, going back to that mirror magic. You have to know who you are. And then as it relates to your children need to see that you know who you are, and that you're carrying yourself, you're carrying your roots with you wherever you go, no matter what you do. I heard somebody say, might have been even Karen say, take yourself with you wherever you go. Don't leave your conscious pro-liberationist part of you on the back burner when you walk into the meeting with the CEO. Wear your natural hair as a symbol, or as a sign of you being liberated within yourself. It could be the simple things, in terms of how we wear our hair, what we do, what we say, the t-shirt I decide to wear for the day. But take yourself with you everywhere you go, because again, as it relates to your children, that is leading by example, and it is a way for them to grab a hold onto the legacy that you are passing on to them. Because if you're not doing this for them, and you just like, oh, I want to make money, honey, then that's cool. But you know me personally, I want to make money, but I want to build legacy. I want to build legacy for my children, so that I can pass something on to them that is substantial and tangible, and is of wealth and of substance. So that's number 8. Number 9, I think I kind of already talked about it in terms of getting social. I got ahead of myself. But yeah, if you're going to be on social media, then use it wisely. And that's just in the virtual world. Also, for me, I'm new to the Tampa area, and I'm in the process now. I just went Friday night, just in terms of not being afraid to talk to people about who you are, what you're doing, what you got going. One of my coworkers invited me to like a little sister circle event that she had on. She called it Waiting to Exhale or something, and we dealt with like relax, just how we want to move into this year, dealing with how we want to relax, how we want to release. It was very it was healthy for me, because I'm not around enough sisters here in this new community. So the fact that I'm in the process of building that, I feel really good. And the last thing is number 10. Tip 10 is get silent. Get silent. Do not be afraid to break away, take a break. And that break may be a week. That break may be a year hiatus. And you have to be unafraid to take that time for yourself. because if you don't take the time to gather yourself and to actually hone your gifts, or to get resituated with your purpose and where you are, because things may change and evolve as your life evolves and change, and you need to be aware of that process as it happens. So be unafraid to take the hiatus, because being afraid to do that, and you just like, well, I want to be busy and I can't take a break, and okay, well, you do that, and you keep running around looking crazy, acting crazy, not really having any real direction, and being very aloof. That's something that I was experiencing. I had this idea of a dream, this idea of a thing that I was saying I wanted to do, but had no real concept about how I was going to do it. So, I spent this last year actually developing a business plan. And let me say, if I have to tag on a tip number 11, if you are an artist and you are not looking at yourself as a startup, then you're setting yourself up for failure in 2016. Like, you have to look at yourself as an entrepreneur in 2016, and as you move forward, and know what value proposition is, and know who your niche market is, and really get familiar with the business of yourself and the business of the thing that you're getting into. It could be music, it could be writing, it could be screenplay, whatever it is, whatever your artistic expression is, creative expression is, fashion design, whatever. Like, really take the time to get into the business. So I hope that this has been helpful in some ways. Definitely been helpful for me, and I'm thankful for just moving forward, stepping into new things, and being unafraid to try new things. So, I want to do a couple more free webinars as I prepare for offering I have some courses that I want to start this year. One of them is a mirror magic course. I already am in conversation with partnering with some very phenomenal women in the areas of health and fitness and empowerment, to bring that to you. And also, there's an artist development course that I want to present this year, and some other things that I won't speak on too much now, but I hope that you have enjoyed this, and keep easing on down the road, y'all. Peace out.